Good morning, students. We begin with a fresh chapter today, supplementary reader. We continue with supplementary reader only. Chapter number 8, a house is not a home. If you remember in your earlier classes, when you were too young, I would say minus 6 years of what you're right now, in class 3, class 2, you were asked, what is a house made up of? So your answer would be, a house is made up of bricks, cement, and whatsoever would be the material to build a house. At that time, if I would ask you what is a home build out of, so you would say the same. The vast difference between these two words, a house and a home. This story highlights the difference between a house and a home and how a teenager realizes what is the difference between these two is what is definitely you need to learn about it. It's a very cute concept because you yourself are in that age. You will definitely relate with what is being taught and what is the turmoil this particular person goes through, this character goes through, and those questions which arise in his mind, the feelings which arise in his heart, you can relate with them because you yourself are of that particular age. Not exactly, but a plus or minus will do. House is something which you build out of material, depending upon the amount of money you would like to spend. That defines what kind of a house you can build. But a house becomes a home only when people reside over there and it's a family which shares the bond of love and care, where you know that somebody is protecting your back or somebody is leading you onto the path of success or the righteous path where you feel protected. You don't feel as if anybody can come and cause harm to you. That kind of a protection where you feel, that would be called a home. No wonder, even if it doesn't have all the amenities which would make your life more comfortable. Now let's see, what does the author want to say? This story reflects the challenges of being a teenager and the problems of growing up. How does the author overcome the problems? My first year of high school felt awkward. Now you ought to know when you give a split of your schooling years, till 10th would be your high, then the upper high school, the 11th and 12th would be the next one. But here we are talking about high school means 11th and 12th. The past what he was in till 10th. My first year of high school felt awkward. So he's just entered 11th. After leaving junior high at the head of my class with all the seniority the upper grade levels could afford me, it felt strange starting over as a freshman. Now this line means when he was in the prior class, he was the senior most of that particular category. And when you are the senior most, you get a lot of responsibilities and people look up to you saying that yes, he is my senior, I can learn so many things from him. But when you get promoted to the next step in your life, the next class, you become a junior in totality. And all that seniority, all that, I would say that attention which you had been gaining from people who were your juniors, you suddenly feel you become them only because you have reached your high school. It The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. So for the school in earlier in which he was studying was to that particular grade only, and when he had to go to the high school, he had to change the school, which was twice as big as the prior one. And then to make matters worse, you would definitely know how this would feel if you separated from your close friends. I felt very isolated. I missed my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. So that's the job of a teacher. to lead you onto the correct path. You go back to your old teachers and they would promote the thought that you have to get accustomed to the change and then gel in with the atmosphere over there and excel. They told me that they told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. They were sure that if he would take interest, he would find the new school more interesting than the old one. But in that case, they took a promise from him that even if he finds the new school more interesting, still he would come back to them and meet them. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. Nonetheless, word over here can be replaced by in spite of also and nevertheless also. He says, I understood the idea of what they are trying to inculcate in my mind, to put in my mind, to seed in my mind, but I was getting comfort in that particular life which I was living earlier only. One Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework. So now he is at his home doing his homework when something disastrous happens. It was a cold and windy fall day and we had fire going in our fireplace. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on the top of all my papers, purring loudly. Now, let's go step by step with these words. Now, red tabby over here is an adjective. It's actually, we're talking about the cat's fur color. So it was a greyish brown color with dark stripes on it. So that's the meaning of the word tabby. And when you have pets, they always want to be close. Wherever you're sitting, they'll come and sit close to you. So they don't mind even if they're sitting on your book or on your lap or on your blanket or your rug, doesn't matter at all. So this cat was sitting on the top of his paper where he was doing homework. It was purring out loudly. That's the sound what a cat makes. And occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. Over here, swatting means it's actually a false emergency call which you make to grab the attention of police. So that kind of a noise it was making, definitely it didn't want to grab the attention of police, it wanted to grab the attention of the author over here. So it was entertainment for the cat, but it was disturbing the author. She was never far from me. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. So when especially animals are so loving and considerate, so kind to you, because they know, they show gratitude always that you help them in the times of need. They're not like human beings. They do shower their love and affection on us. They know what you have done for them. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. Now, stoking means add fuel to the fire. It may be coal, it may be wood. Okay, so any kind of hard substance which would burn and then give warmth in the house. Suddenly I smelled something strange, and then I noticed it. Smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling. The seams are nothing but when you have two pieces of attachment on the ceiling. So when two pieces join, that would be called the seam of the ceiling. There he could see the smoke coming out from them. The smoke began to fill the room so quickly that they could barely see. So the house had caught fire and the smoke had gone intense now. They could barely see around themselves. Groping. Now this word means actually when you can't see anything, you just try to feel things around, walking blindly to find way. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran into the front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. So the whole roof had caught fire, it was totally on fire, and we had to move out to avoid any danger. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So if somebody's house is on fire, definitely they would want to make a last attempt of uh, keeping safe certain things which are very, very important in the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. That's the first thing she pulled out. She dropped the case on the lawn and in a crazed state, that in the mad kind of a state, she ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. That was the second thing what she wanted to protect. They were the only things that she had to remember him by. Still, I screamed at her, Mom, no, because you being a child, you don't want your mother to run into a house which is on fire. So he was screaming his lungs off, saying, please don't go, please don't go. I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. I was trying to free myself from the grasp, yelling, you don't understand, my mother's in there. So he was trying to free himself from the clutch of the fireman, and because he wanted to protect his mom. He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically and that if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. So if the fireman would leave his hand, definitely he would run into the house and to try to save his mother. So that's why the fireman did not loosen his grip. It's all right, they'll get her, he said. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. So his car was outside, so he was made to sit over there. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. So towing actually means to pull either using hands or you can, majority it's a rope. But because the human being was being towed over here, so she was pulled out from there. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. So these firefighters bring a fire brigade along with them, which has all the equipment needed to put off the fire and to give first aid to the people who have suffered in the either minor burn injuries, or if they have inhaled a lot of smoke, then oxygen also supply is also there over there. I ran over and hugged her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. We as human beings might have got lot many differences. We argue, we say nasty things to each other, but that one moment where you feel, oh, I might lose this person, oh, she might die, or he might die, that makes you realize the importance of that person. In that one moment you I would never argue, I would you keep on saying this to yourself, I would never do this, I would never do that, please come back and all stuff. She's going to be okay, said the fireman. She's just inhaled a little smoke. And then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed. So they are looking continuously at their house which is on fire. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. Certain times you feel so helpless. You cannot ever the things happening. If the house is totally engulfed in fire, there's nothing you can do. The max you could do is call the firefighters, and you have already done it. So you just have to be a mute spectator to what's happening around. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. Our house was almost completely burned down. But then it struck me. I hadn't seen my cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Then all at once it hit me, the new school, the fire, my cat. As a teenager, when you undergo some kind of a turmoil in your life, you feel that's the end of your happiness. Like, why me? This question continuously keeps ringing in your mind. Why is this happening with me? What have I done wrong? These questions keep ringing in your mind till the time where you actually either fight back or give up to the situation. So what were his challenges at that moment were the new school he was trying to adjust, the fire, and then cat, the missing cat. He broke down in tears and cried and cried. I was suffering loss big time. So all this was acting upon his mind. The firemen wouldn't let us go back into the house that night. It was still too dangerous. Dead or alive, I couldn't imagine leaving without knowing about my cat. Regardless, I had to go. We piled into the car with just the clothes on our backs and a few firemen's blankets and made our way to my grandparents' house to spend the night. Piled into the car means move in a very disorderly manner. Just shove everything inside and just move away from there, because whatever was left was a little bit only. The next day, Monday, I went to school. When the fire broke out, I was still wearing the dress I had worn to church that morning, but I had no shoes. Everything was inside the house and it had caught fire. I had kicked them off when I was doing my homework, so that's typical us. Na? We come home and then we hurl things here and there. So he had taken off his footwear while he was doing his homework, and when he ran out of the house, he had no footwear. They became yet another casualty of the fire. That means they got burnt in the fire. So I had to borrow some tennis shoes from my aunt. Why couldn't I just stay home from school? So this was the thought in his mind. Why am I going to school in such circumstances when I don't have proper clothing to wear? I am repeating my clothes and I have no footwear to wear. Why am I being sent to the school? My mother wouldn't hear of it. Typical of the parent would say, you go, I will take care of it. But I was totally embarrassed by everything. As a teenager, you would like yourselves to be looking fine, like to look good. And you don't want anybody to pinpoint a finger at you saying that this person is not dressed up to the mark. And you have so many insecurities in your mind, so many questions rising in your mind as to how do I cope with the situation. The clothes I was wearing looked weird. I had no books or homework, and my backpack was gone. Everything had been burnt in that fire. I had my life in that backpack. The more I tried to fit in, the worse it got. So these thoughts, though nobody noticed, still he himself is putting this pressure on him, saying as to how will I cope with the situation where he was doing his homework, but he had no homework, no books. He just walked into the school in that kind of a circumstance where people would talk about him firstly. Those who did not know what had happened with him would talk about his attire, making fun of him. All this was hassling his mind. Was I destined to be an outcast? Outcast is a person who has been rejected by the society, okay? So these are the questions which are rising in his mind. And a geek all my life? No, geek is a socially inept person, like I would say. You can even say unfashionable. So would people call me geek? That's what it felt like. I didn't want to grow up, change, or to have to handle my life if it was going to be this way. So he said, like, he was so depressed, so depressed. Like he said, I don't want my life to be lived. Don't want to live my life if my life is going to be this way. All he wanted to do is, I just wanted to curl up and die. So curling up over here means he was feeling ashamed of the circumstances he was in and he wanted to quit his life. I walked around the school like a zombie. The zombie are dead people walking alive. Fiction, part of the fiction, they don't exist, but how do you look if you're dead and then you're walking? Everything felt surreal, bizarre, like something awkward. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house, my cat, all had been ripped away. So to undergo these kind of circumstances definitely is a challenge. But let's see in my next lecture, how does he fight back and how does he realize? Does he realize in the very first sense? How does he realize, if he does so, that what is important in life is the people around rather than the things around? That's all for this lecture. Thank you.